Okay, fine. All right. We're live. Oh, we're live, pal. All right. Hello, everyone. It's me, Duke CT, here on this pretty much a very ominous Saturday night. And I got LV here talking about, well, pretty much the end of one of the most 2000 since wrestling organization since 2002, Ring of Honor. And it is, well, a lot of people, this was one of the most biggest things, and probably the last past couple of probably since, honestly, in my opinion, since like 2001, when WCW fell, because this is something like this is huge,
Mhm.
in my personal opinion.
Yeah, man. Like it's pretty much what I told you before we went live, man. It was just heartbreaking to hear, very heartbreaking to hear. And we may go deeper later on in the show, but it's just that, it's just that I hope that there is some hope that it will come back to some capacity. But the more we hear stuff, the more we're like, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, it's just I am again one of the biggest. It's shocking because like it was like, okay, Ring of Honor is just is you just look and say, okay, everything's going well. I mean, Shane Taylor Productions are looking good, and then this story, which just I still was like, what, just like, okay, I was getting pumped for the next one, the Wednesday night Dynamite. Everything was good, and then this Wednesday night, let me just see if I can share the story, because it just, to me, it's just I mean, just you just look at that, you just look at this whole the story is from like her getting hot up for this, and then bam, this the Twitter post, which you know is just right here. It's just like they're going on hiatus. And it's just like, what? I thought they were doing pretty well. Last I checked, they were doing pretty well. I thought they were getting a lot more positive stuff. They recently did a pay per view over here in Baltimore. I thought that was did pretty well, and then here we are. Here we are.
Right. Right. I mean, like, now, as far as how I heard about it kind of differently, because I was actually watching Sean Ross Sapp's live stream at the time, and the news broke when he was on live stream. He was literally getting all these messages and all these text messages about what was going on with Ring of Honor. So I wasn't sure what was going on, because at first they was talking about they was going to go on hiatus, and then just all of a sudden, just Sean Ross Sapp just saying like, "Oh my God, like I'm I'm getting these messages about everybody got released." I'm like, huh? What do you mean everybody got released? Like, what are you talking about? And then so like Sean Ross Sapp was confused. I was confused. People in the chat was confused. And then that's what made me go on Twitter and like, and yeah, like I pretty much saw that first tweet that you're showing. And I was like, okay, like they just said they're just gonna go on hiatus. So where's all this stuff coming from about them getting released? Now Ring of Honor didn't say it, but once I saw guys like Meltzer and everyone else saying it got released, I was like, oh shit.
Yeah, this was, this is again, I've the only Ring of Honor show and I ever went to was during WrestleMania 27. I saw you there. I think Instant Classic was there. It was the Ring of Honor show weeks after the whole Jeff Hardy's fiasco. And I have, like, let me see if I can find the DVDs I got from the show. They were. Dang it. One of them was, I believe, one of them had, I think was Davey Richards versus, I believe, like Roderick Strong. I think that was one of them. I think one of them had CM Punk. No, it was the Punk versus Samoa Joe trilogy of matches. which I honestly, I gotta say, the third one was better to me because it was a decisive ending. Both matches were really good. In fact, they were probably right up there. Just the primes of what the I wouldn't call them prime Joe and the Ring of Honor, but it was he was like right up there, and it was just but it was the streak and CM Punk continuing his legacy and stuff. But man, those two matches were really good. But I really loved the third one as it had a decisive winner, and it felt when you looked at Ring of Honor, and I was real late to it, probably around 2010, 11. Really got into it when it was only on Go Fight Live, and after that whole debacle of Go Fight Live, and just having everything just completely the audio issues and everything else. Remember those days, right, man?
Yeah, man. Like it was a struggle. It was quite the struggle. It was a struggle back then.
Yeah, it was one of the. Here. Here. Yes. Here is one of the DVDs I got. Let's see if I can put this screen here. We just drop. Let's see if I can. The cam right here. This one right here. This is right here. Glory by Honor 9. This was probably, I would say, one of the really, probably this is one of the best shows I got from those, got the DVD and such. Really good stuff. And it's the funny thing is, when I go back in Ring of Honor, one of their biggest miscues was, I remember this, remember Tyler Black. It was one of those things that I think that hurt the company. Tyler Black's, aka Seth Rollins, they just had that cock blocking way of giving him the world title, and they waited for so long. I remember one of the big issues when it was the first time we went on Go Fight TV was not just the issues, but also it was. I remember it was Tyler Black facing. I don't know, was it Austin? It was Austin Aries, and he lost the match, and it was a snowstorm. I remember that, and they just said, "No, we're not going to do it," and they just had a Smalls, and then Tyler Black went in. And I know people were like, "Oh, Seth Rollins, all this stuff." He had all these issues, but he was a little bit of a butt kisser too back then. He says, "If you didn't like that ending, you don't like professional wrestling." At the end of the crowd, which just really, I mean, that right there and such. And that was a lot of these issues of Ring of Honor is that they had talent, great talent, but when they went away and such, they waited too long to put the belt on them, or they just didn't know what to do with them afterwards. That was one of the main issues.
Yeah, like like as far as Tyler Black not getting the belt, like they pretty much waited a long time, and I think that was when I was really getting into Ring of Honor like that. Like I pretty much started watching Ring of Honor in 2009 once they came to HD Net, and I remember like one of the main storylines people kept talking about was to give this guy Tyler Black the belt, like. Oh yeah, you got to give him the belt. He's about to win the belt. He's about to win the belt soon. And I'm like, okay. And then like they just kept putting it off and putting it off and putting it off. And I'm like, okay. I mean, like if they're not gonna put the belt on them, then what's really the big deal about them? You know what I'm saying? Like especially as a first time viewer, like you're kind of listening to people, and I pretty much looked at Tyler Black. I thought it was great in the ring, but he didn't really stand out to me when I first saw it because I think what people need to keep in mind during our day when we was on YouTube and whatnot, the main thing we saw or talked about on YouTube was WWE and TNA, and then you had the Skype talkers. They were talking about this company called Ring of Honor. Now, pretty much during those days, a lot of people were very fickle, including myself. I was very fickle. Like I remember back in 2007, I remember guys like True Slayer, Moral Virus, Crazy Mike. I think it was also Dirty White Boy. Those guys kept talking about this pay-per-view called Man Up, and they was going crazy over the pay-per-view Man Up, and they kept talking about, oh man, oh my God, you got to watch this show. You got to watch this show. Now this was back in 2007. Now, the only thing I knew back in the day was WWE, ECW, and WCW. I never watched a lick of Japanese wrestling, a lick of lucha libre, nothing. So
Same
when they
here.
was so when they was saying this, it was a whole lot harder to get those type of fans like us into the product because that's all we knew. Plus, not only that though, and I think this was the biggest thing was that the Ring of Honor shows wasn't that accessible. Now, if you look at today, if it turns out if you want to watch a AAW show, if you want to watch a GCW show, all you gotta do is to go on Fight TV, go on IWTV, and just click it. If you got to pay for it, go ahead and pay for it right then and there. It pretty much got to the point where a lot of these independent shows are now live instead of waiting a month later. So it's a whole lot more harder. So when it comes to a fickle fan like myself, I said to myself, why in the world would I buy a DVD and wait a whole month just to watch it? And I was like, fuck that shit. I ain't doing that.
Yeah, it is.
So
I mean, yeah, like I was like looking upon it. I was like, man, the only thing I was watching, funny thing is, the only thing I got into was TNA / Impact Wrestling was when I had like Comcast back in the day. They had these free previews, and I saw, oh, what is this? And watched that. And I feel like Ring of Honor missed that type of opportunity to have that. Sure, they were HDNet. Later on, which is like only 7 people in the entire country had HDNet, and then no one really cared for the pay-per-views. It was just like they just never really got a chance to actually, the one thing that company really needed was a break, and then they never really got one. They never got it at HDNet. They never really got it on Go Fight Live because of all this stuff and everything. And Sinclair, Sinclair. They just didn't really. I don't know what it is. They had something. They bought it off the cheap, and then they just really didn't really do anything about it. And now, right now, because of all the spending they did, they basically bought all these sports channels and all this type of stuff. Thinking that they're gonna, because of the whole deal with Disney and everything. Oh, we're gonna buy all the sports channels. We're gonna rename it Bailey's. All this type of stuff. And then the pandemic happened, and they're trying to cut costs. And well, guess what's on the chopping block? Ring of Honor.
right, and it's just the fact of when Sinclair came into the game 10 years ago when it comes to Ring of Honor, that pretty much at that point, I was watching Ring of Honor for about a couple of years, and I was a big fan of Ring of Honor. And again, like to anybody listening, you got to think about what was going on 10 years ago, because again, we wasn't able to have the Fight TVs and the IWT TVs and like these streaming services now where you can just watch it. So at that point, it was very important for Ring of Honor to have some type of TV deal, And when Sinclair got into the game, like I was one of those people that was very excited, and I really thought that Ring of Honor was going to go to the next level. And there were times that they were getting to the next level. I mean, they was actually to get on actual pay-per-view instead of just pay-per-view and stuff like that. They were able to have weekly television, and I was one of the first people to constantly review the television shows. But, it's just that the thing with Sinclair is that they were cheap. And that was my biggest criticism of them, is that they were just cheap. They were not able to capitalize on many things that Ring of Honor was doing. And I think the biggest example of that, and a lot of people talked about this already, was when the Elite was around. Now, when it came to 2019,
yes.
When it came to 2019, the Elite was a fucking draw for Ring of Honor. They were a draw. And the thing about it was, when I was reading the Observer from this week, when Dave was talking about the Ring of Honor thing, he was talking about how the Bucks and Cody were just really upset at Sinclair for not capitalizing on getting better production values, just capitalizing on how powerful the Elite was, because they were,
they were one of the most over things. They were the biggest things. I mean, that is the reason why All In got pretty much the precursor to Ring of Honor. And by the way, I remember this. Let me just get this. When you talk about the pay-per-views earlier, You gotta look at this. I remember Best in the World. This was actually the first major pay-per-view when they started getting back into the pay-per-view thing, got into the pay-per-view thing. This actually beat over like I believe like over 10,000 pay-per-view buys. This pay-per-view right here, and it blasted what TNA were doing at the time. People thought that this was going to be, remember Ring of Honor was going to be, people say, Ring of Honor is the number 2 now. Number 2 to WE and Impact was like 3rd or 4th and such. I remember the conversations back then. And then you see what happened to Sinclair. And then you had, like you said, the Elite. They had all these things. And then the Super Show, which was, the whole New York Super G1, which I went in saying I was like really getting into Ring of Honor. And then after that show, I'm like, I don't even want to look at that company anymore. That's how bad it was.
Yeah, like yeah, like if there ever is a documentary about the rise and fall of Ring of Honor, like I pretty much mentioned the 2019 stuff with the Elite and how they didn't capitalize it, but probably if 2019 is not on top of the list on what made Ring of Honor fall, that MSG show was.
Ugh.
Now the whole thing about it was that throughout the build up to this MSG show, all people was talking about was New Japan was going to MSG. They had no mention of Ring of Honor at all. And I remember the day of that MSG show was going on, I put a tweet down and I pretty much just said like, yo, like it's really about time Ring of Honor actually went to MSG. And then I was looking at everyone else and nobody was mentioning about Ring of Honor. And with all the hard work that us YouTubers have done, us diehards have done, just spreading the word about Ring of Honor. And they came to this point where they're in Vince McMahon's house and no one didn't talk about it. And I was saying to myself, wow. And then that fucking show happened. Enzo and Cass, the beautiful people.
I was like,
Matt.
what is this? This is not just, this is the Ring of Honor. It's like a try to fuse WWE and TNA, and it came with this weird monstrosity. And I'm like, and New Japan looked at this like, no. Oh,
Yeah.
no. And then the sad part is, and then they had Matt Taven go over, which went over like like a fart. I'm like, I don't hate Matt Taven. I think he's good. I think he's decent, but main eventer? I'm like, no, he's not. And sadly, I don't know what Ring of Honor was and everything, and I know what Marty Scurll and his stuff here happened, and then Jay Lethal and everything else. But man, that ladder match was just so. It was Bush League. That indie match, you had ladders hitting the audience. I'm like, this is not. I'm like, man, this is like you know what? New Japan is professional, and it just showed that Ring of Honor is how much you put like the production and everything. It's still this raggedy indie, and it like, man, it hurt because I mean, so many people were pulling for him, and here we are.
Right. Like I think yeah, like I think when they when they had Matt Taven win that match in MSG, like I seriously thought, like that was pretty much the first time as a Ring of Honor fan where I said to myself that they may be in trouble. Like that was really the first time I've ever said to myself they may be in trouble. Because throughout years prior, like I was just being very, very optimistic. I was like, okay, like there may be a period where they may do something dumb booking wise, but hopefully they'll get it together. But man, that MSG show with Enzo, Cash, the beautiful people, and then Matt Taven retaining, and then just the lack of buzz about Ring of Honor during that MSG hype, especially during the show. I was saying to myself, man, they may be in trouble.
And even better, I remember that both. I was like, I saw this story, and I was like on the freaking Austin Network board and everything, and so I bring this up. Let's see if I can find it. But I remember that he was the champion during this time, and yet they didn't sign him. I'm like, wait, he is your main guy and your champion, and you didn't sign him? he should be signed. Like he's not given an extension. I'm like, what is going on with this company? Because that is just, that's asking for trouble. You're basically putting yourself into positions that you're like, oh crap. We you just because don't think WE will not be as petty to put someone Matt Taven or something there and take and do that type of stuff. Do not think they're not. I'm like, this is a company that has done that multiple times. So I'm like, what are you doing? This is supposed to be a big moment. And then during that time as well, no one showed up to their shows. It was like people
Mm-mm.
just like barely showed up at all. I'm like, this was after the big New York show. And what is going on? You know?
Right, like, and then like they was bringing in guys like a Brody King, and then they brought in Roosh from CMLL, and I remember when they had Roosh beat Matt Taven. Oh wait a minute, was it Matt Taven or is it PCO? But anyways, when Ring of Honor gave Roosh the belt, I mean
It was
that
PCO,
Roosh.
by the way. Yeah.
Oh, okay. But when Roosh got the belt, that should have been a big fucking deal. I mean, like if anyone knows anything about Roosh before he came in the Ring of Honor, he was one of the biggest stars in Mexico in CMLL. And I remember back then, like if there's anyone that was WWE ready, it was Roosh. Like it wasn't guys like Mystico and La Sombra, who is now Andrade. I was talking about Roosh for the longest time going to WWE. So when Roosh finally won the belt, again, I go on my Twitter feed and no one talked about Roosh. I'm like, y'all, this is Roosh. He's the fucking champion. And no one didn't say nothing. I'm like, fuck, the fuck going on?
I know. It's just that the company just did not know what to do with its stars. And it's just, to me, when you look at the stars and how they managed them, and even when they lost stars, they came to reload and built themselves up. And when you look and seeing what Ring of Honor, I think they just, I'm like, you look back and saying, man, they just had they never really had the backing. I mean, look at what happened when we had the Elite. They had all this energy and momentum, and they not only lost them, they formed another company. It's like what happened with All Japan and what was it, Pro Wrestling Noah, a little bit of that history, when you
Mm-hmm.
have like Masao just took all this the guys there, and that's pretty much what happened with you know AEW. They had something. Cody and all the others like, oh, you know what, we'll go back to New Japan, and then we're gonna start our own stuff and become VPs, and then boom, there we go. And that's pretty much just, they just took over, and after with AEW and everything else, I think Ring of Honor became like the fourth, because Impact was still doing good somehow, and then New Japan started its excursion to the United States, and that was pre-pandemic, and Ring of Honor was just getting more and more like, who cares? No one cared.
Right, right. Like I think you bringing up that All Japan Noah stuff is a good comparison, and I only say that to say this because much like when Masawa and them left and formed Noah, um, with one of the things they wanted to focus on with Pro Wrestling Noah is that they did not want to get conservative with nothing. They wanted to be just brand new. They wanted to get in with the times. And that was one of the big issues that Baba's wife had because she was way too conservative, way too conservative. And if you look at All Japan now, All Japan currently, like they're pretty much still in that conservative mindset. And that's why no one talks about All Japan to this day. Now, with Noah, when they started, they had the lighting, they had all the production, they had shit. I mean, like they even had the ring mats green instead of, the typical stuff that New Japan and All Japan did. And then that's what had them started to blow up like they did, especially with people in the States. Now, when you look at AEW and Ring of Honor, with Ring of Honor, again, they was just conservative. They were way too conservative with Sinclair, especially. They was cheap. they didn't want to put no energy into the Ring of Honor product. And it's like what everybody else said. Pretty much Sinclair saw Ring of Honor as just something for content. That's it, for their distribution. That's all they saw them for. And especially when they had that opportunity to really capitalize when the Elite was around in 2019, it pretty much bit them in the ass. And then guys like Bucks and Cody and Hangman, they all left. And here we are now. AEW's taking over the world right now. And Ring of Honor is basically on death's door.
Oh yeah, that's what it is, and just I think I found it. I found the stuff right here. Right here. Let me just share it. We just see this old stuff here. But yeah, it's just like I said about whole right here from Matt Taven and such is right here. Says Ring of Honor champion Matt Taven's current contract was back a couple years ago. It's scheduled to come in September, and this was again August. And I'm like, missed up, like again, incompetence, and that you see this right here. I'm just like, what is this company doing? What is the you look back and see what type of the management, bad management, and when you have bad management, you have this stuff happening under your watch. When you have the Ring of Honor champion Matt Taven's current contract is basically on the is gone, and then you have Matt see Marty Scroll, like I said, he had all these issues, but he was over like hell. And you're like, it would have probably got a lot more positive feedback at the time. But Matt Taven just sat there, was at the Kingdom, and I'm like, and that thing is like, honestly, I would rank the Kingdom, even though Vincent and all of his stuff really helped put energy in there, and he really tried. But man, I would say it's probably one of those forgettable stables of probably one of those forgettable stables in wrestling, man, because I'm like, Matt Taven's Kingdom, I didn't care for. I tried to care for it, but I was like, should I even try? Because it's just Matt Taven is like the most, he feels like he's like the role of a big card. He's like a permanent Intercontinental Champion type guy, and that should be his high. And that's not a bad place to be. I don't know why people think, oh, that's terrible. No, that's good. That's a good place to be. But man, putting him in the main event with that weird hair dude trying so hard to be tough, and I'm like, nah, this wasn't working. It didn't work, and people just left. And now, I honestly think Ring of Honor was DOA before. I'm gonna say it. Ring of Honor was DOA, probably pre-pandemic. Like, the pandemic hurt them a lot, and I think they did a good job of like, okay, we're gonna put this thing hiatus and then build ourselves up again with no fans and paying everybody else. That was good. I like that. But I think the stories, I mean, other than the pure tournament and the women's tournament, I honestly think Ring of Honor didn't really do nothing of note. Okay, Shane Taylor Productions, but that's pretty much it.
Right. Like now as far as the pandemic, that was definitely a big blow. And the fucked up part about it was that Ring of Honor, out of all the promotions in the world, they did the best job when it comes to kind of handling the COVID stuff. And that was the messed up part about it. With WWE, they was reckless. With AEW, like they pretty much didn't had no choice but to run shows. As far as New Japan, I mean, they tried, but it's just that the atmosphere of those New Japan shows was not the same. I mean, like you would see people, but those people couldn't clap, they couldn't yell, they couldn't do nothing. And as far as Ring of Honor goes, I mean, like they pretty much did the best job out of anyone as far as handling the COVID stuff. They even paid everybody, including the people that couldn't come into the country, like Session Marth Martinez and Mark Haskins and Slesh, guys like that who couldn't even come into the country. They were still getting paid. And like it's just kind of unfortunate that they wasn't able to get good karma out of that. Now, like as far as the whole pandemic thing, as far as what they did, I mean, obviously they went on hiatus, but they came back with the pure tournament, and I think that was the first time everybody was kind of talking about Ring of Honor at that time because the pure tournament went on, and and then as soon as the pure tournament was done, and this is pretty much my personal opinion, I thought Ring of Honor had the best television show last year in 2020. I thought the presentation of them doing those shows was absolutely
Oh
great.
yeah, I
Like
agree.
their video packages was great, and I think I was one of the few people that kept saying that Ring of Honor is the best TV show. And I remember when I read the Observer Awards, like with Ring of Honor, it was like ranked number 9. It's like number 9. The fuck?
Yeah, well, because again, no one watches because they're on the internet, and also Sinclair's like their syndication. It's like 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning around DC. I'm like, why is syndication still a thing? Why they can't just put it on a consistent network or something there? Because that right there, again, management. Because if they had a better management and say we're going to put this on a channel where you can watch it on a reasonable time, it's an hour, probably like 6 or 7 o'clock, right there, and boom, you probably it'll probably raise from 9 to probably like 4 or maybe 5 or 4 or 3 or something. Because I think AEW did a pretty good job. Impact, I think, did decent stuff there and everything. And WE, well, I think they did their best. I think the only saving grace WE had, I think, was the production values of those cinematic matches. Not saying no one else did cut back or whatever, but I think WE did the production and they did all this stuff, including the Thunderdome. But yeah, Ring of Honor, I looked at production. I liked it. I think it was really good. But once again, management. It goes right back to management. If you have piss poor management, what do you think is going to happen? Right? You can't really go to these places and such, you can't really do anything about the management structure. Management is it sets the things up, and that's how it is. That's how it is. Ring of Honor had piss poor management, and that's why it is where it is right now.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. It's just very unfortunate. Um, and as far as Ring of Honor looking to close down, yeah, man, like it's just that I think who I feel sorry the worst for at this point is the women, man.
Oh,
Like,
they worked
because
hard. They
man,
did everything.
look,
Trisha Dora, Roxy, all of them in the
uh,
women's
uh
tournament.
bro, like
Mm.
and they just signed Roxy and Trisha Dora and Miranda Alizé. I mean, like they just signed them, and they was on the reboot of the women's division. And for me, watching that whole tournament, I thought it was surprisingly good. Like it was better than what I expected. I know that.
Oh yeah,
um
better tournament
like,
than what WE's did. Only two
right.
minutes in a match. So I'm like, really, this is the
And
best they could do and such. But I looked at Ring of Honor and I look at that. I was like, I saw the stuff and I was like, man, I really wish these women should have better stuff. No, like I was like, so close. So close to actually having a strong women's division, and then this happens. It's heartbreaking.
right. Look, that kind of brings me up to something else on what Ring of Honor did wrong, bruh. I remember 10 years ago in 2011, I remember I kept saying, Ring of Honor, you need to do a women's division. Why? Because at that time, again, WWE was doing the divas at that time. Everybody thought women's wrestling was a joke. Now, with me, during that time, I was one of the few people on YouTube reviewing women's matches, and I was telling people about the Mercedes Martinez and the Athenas, who is now Ember Moon, and the Kanas, who is now Asuka. I was talking about all these women, and and nobody was capitalizing on it, especially WWE. And I remember in 2011 when they had that TV deal, I said, Ring of Honor, you got to get a women's division soon. Go ahead and get Athena, get Mercedes Martinez, get Gail Kim. Gail Kim is a free agent. Melina was about to be a free agent. Get these women, and they didn't capitalize on it. And then, uh, and then pretty much what ends up happening about 3-4 years later? What ends up happening? Ronda
WE.
Rousey. Ronda Rousey is taking the UFC by storm. Ronda Rousey proves that she's a draw, and guess who gets the attention of WWE? And what happens? WWE started rating all the women and started putting them in NXT, and they was putting on these great matches, these match of the year contenders, and then like, oh my God, what happened? Oh my God, it's women's wrestling. And I was like, you motherfuckers. I told Ring of Honor to capitalize on that, and they didn't do it. I told them. I was like, man, y'all fucked up. Y'all fucked up hard.
Of course they didn't. No one actually. That's to me the most frustrating thing about this whole mess is because they never really did anything. They never had the. They never ever jumped at the opportunity. I mean, say what you want about TNA. There's a whole list we could talk about TNA and all their stupidity. But 2009, they started that stuff up. They started doing the stuff. In fact, you saw like I said about Gail Kim. Gail Kim was the foundation. You had Awesome Kong. You had ODB. You had the beautiful people when they were actually, more over and everything else and such like that. You had these type of great performers in that company. You had that. And what did they do? What did Ring of Honor do? They just sat back. They sat back and they waited. They weren't they reacted instead of acting. You know? That to
Man,
me is just so I'm sitting here and I'm like, what are you doing? This should be easy. This should be the easiest thing in the world. And right now, you're blowing it. You're blowing it. And that's what it is. And then you see the missed opportunities. You see the missed opportunities just in, like I said, the New York show. Why did they do this over Enzo and Cass? Why did they do this with bringing the Allure, aka Beautiful Bill, when they were way past their due? You have Bully. Well, you have I love Mega Ran. I think he's awesome. Met him a couple times during MagFest. Cool dude. But why was he? I was like, this is straight out of WWE. The fans didn't care. No one cared. They got Bully Way cheered, and it was just it was a prelude to a match that I'm like, wait, like this is straight out of WWE. You know?
mm-hmm.
Yeah, and just right here, yeah, you're right, JC. So Ring of Honor did nothing when the time was right to make a women's division.
Man,
Yes.
I'm telling you, 2011, they had it. They had it right in front of their face. I kept screaming during those old school LV5454 videos. I was like, Ring of Honor, you have to do a women's division. Just if it turns out if you just get 5 local women, just start doing it. Because again, bro, WWE wasn't doing it like that. They was doing diva shit. And as far as with TNA, they pretty much faltered away from what made the Knockouts division credible back in 2007. I was like, Ring of Honor, you guys have an opportunity, and if you want to attract more fans, you have it right there. And when they didn't, WWE capitalized on it, and then afterwards, just pretty much out of thin blue sky, Ring of Honor said, hey, we're going to start a women's division. I'm like, what? Bruh.
Of
Like,
course.
oh my. I was like, oh my God.
It's just, again, missed opportunities. And you just look at it, you're just like wondering, what are you doing? what are you doing? And I'm sitting here like you, almost like Ring of Honor is just a step behind. And it's really, really messed up. And here's the funny thing. Talking about bad booking and such. Remember when Kyle O'Reilly was champion of Ring of Honor? He got the belt, and then a couple weeks later, he was in like what, WWE NXT. I was like, "What are you doing?" And he was built up properly. From Red Dragon, you have they built him up properly, and it's just they haven't won the title. I think it was against Jay Lethal, and you sit there and you're like, "Man, they just they just they don't know how to continually hold this, like, they don't know how to a establish names and such, and b keep them, give them a reason why they should stay, you know
Yeah, man. Like it was just, yeah, like that whole Kyle O'Reilly stuff. I mean, it was supposed to feel like it was a big deal, but we all know it wasn't a big deal because we all knew Kyle O'Reilly was going to drop the belt soon. So it's like, okay, whatever. So I was kind of over that. I was kind
yeah,
of over that.
yeah. And he beat Adam Cole for the title, and then it was on December. It was like, this is right here on his Wikipedia saying, and all, like, he came back, beat he beat him. He beat Adam Cole, for the ROH Championship. On December 2nd, and then on December 31st, his contract expired. What
Hmm.
what is this? What is that? I mean, and then he gave the title back on Wrestle Kingdom 11, and then he was pulled from all. Yeah, exactly. You know what? And that's what it is. Like, what are you doing? What is this? What type of stuff is there? What do you call this? And I'm just sitting here and I'm like, what do you call a company that just, like, builds, um you build a championship, a person that could be your main event champion and everything else, and then he leaves a month later. No, less than a month later. Piss poor management.
Right, man. Yeah. I mean, like it just wasn't good. Like it just wasn't good. But yo, like I pretty much got a question for you though. So so I was mentioning earlier in the show that Ring of Honor kind of hinted that they will return, but the recent news about this tape library being on sale now.
Oh,
Now, with Ring of Honor saying that they're trying to come back in April, and I think Joe Cobb said the same thing. They was given the indication that they're going to come back in April. But if the tape library is for sale, how is all that going to work? So so with the tape library thing happening, that was letting me know that they're about to be dead.
oh
You
yeah, right
know,
here. I look at this. Supposedly, this is from PW Insider. Tape library, it says right here. It's just from a quote. It says, like, I'm not sure what this started, but Sinclair Broadcasting Group purchased the rights to whatever the 2002 and 2011 ROH tape library contained when they bought the company. Uh, from Kerry Silken. We have gotten some emails about whether they actually owned the content prior to 2011, but considering they have utilized it many times for compilation DVDs and YouTube, they obviously have the rights. If they didn't, Kerry Silken could have made himself a mint selling off to WWE or even AEW, and that hasn't happened. And right here, in regards in a potential sale of the library, Joe Koff stated in our interview past Wednesday there are no conversations and no interest in selling the library. We have some stories of different discussions in the past, but it doesn't mean it's currently taking place. Of course, things can always change tomorrow, but if we're going to take Koff at his word, there are no current sale discussions right now. And hopefully, by the time I finish ending that sentence, Tony Khan is going over at Joe Koff's house just with a blank check, because I do not want WWE to have this. I do not
no.
want WWE anywhere near Ring of Honor, because for all AEW stuff, at least they would actually, keep their like it's a they have reverence for Ring of Honor. They have actual respect for it. And I think they would treat ROH with, well, honor instead of WWE just putting on Peacock in this like so far into the bowels of its network, which is like, supposedly like people, oh, they're gonna see it. Meanwhile, I only got 1 million people watching. He in the W Network only got only 1 million people subscribers, and got even less when it went to Peacock because most people don't even care about Peacock. And Peacock right now lost over $520 million because of it. Because people watch that stuff because no one doesn't. So yeah, I honestly hope that Ring of Honor goes to AEW and they start doing that stuff over at HBO Max, because for right now, HBO Max seems to be a much better streaming service and actually making at least some money compared to what Peacock's doing. So that's my hope. Ring of Honor somewhere gets some stuff, because quite honestly, like I said, WWE would mismanage it. Would be a mismanagement of the highest order.
Yeah, like if it turn out events, get that tape library. The only thing we're gonna see on Peacock is the best of Seth Rollins, and then the best of Roderick Strong. Like they're obviously not gonna have the balls to air those Punk Joe matches. Uh they're not gonna air that stuff for people that's in AEW now that had a history in Ring of Honor. If you look at Peacock right now and you look at how they archive the UK stuff, like what? Like it's like best of Walter, best of uh Piper Niven. That's it. That's that's it. I was like, wait a minute, like I wanna actually look at the actual full shows, because shit, like I saw a lot of good shows from Insane Championship Wrestling. But again, like they don't really show the full shows. They just do best ofs. That's it.
Exactly. So you will not see, um, you're not gonna see, for example, Glory by Honor, 9 or something like that. You'll see Roderick Strong versus Tyler Black, aka Seth Rollins. We're both team, which pretty much have Roderick Strong as a babyface, which was, oh dear, no, and oh gosh, Roger Strong on the microphone. I honestly say this. People say, oh, this person is terrible on the mic. No, they haven't lived through Roderick Strong speaking in this whiny, nasally voice. I'm like, this is your champion? And he had like the House of Truth guy, Truth, was it Truth Martini? I was like, yeah, and he was actually
Yeah.
pretty good on the mic. I'm like, why are you letting Roderick Strong speak? Don't let him speak. He's like, I was like, oh gosh. And he kept whining and whining. I'm like, okay, he's supposed to be annoying. But I think Yahtzee Quansaw of Zero Point Entry said it best. Like, purposely annoying, he's still annoying. Your character is still annoying. So I'm not like, oh, I gotta be engaged. No, I'm gonna sit down and just watch that stuff. I not watch it anymore and leave. Because that stuff right there, that could drive people away from your company. If your champion or one of your main characters of your show is just this whiny, like, it doesn't matter how good your wrestling is, if it's just whining and just like annoyance, you're just be like, just go. No, just go. And he's gotten a bit better, but he has like people to talk for him, Michael Bevins and such. So yeah, just the lesson here is, don't let Roderick Strong do any promos, because he's terrible at them. Just absolutely terrible. But yeah. Oh gosh. But yeah, it's just oh yeah. Only Roderick Strong survives. Only if he doesn't have promos. No promos for him. But yeah, but yeah, to the point, AEW will actually show the shows. And honestly, they will finally get to do All In. I mean, All In was basically Ring of Honor. But basically, AEW's first show. I know they have first shows and all the stuff, but no, All In was basically AEW, the preview of AEW. Right?
Right, right. Right. Like, and I think I think the fact that Ring of Honor does have the rights to All In, pretty much that should give Tony Khan that much motivation to outbid anyone that's willing to bid for those tapes. You know, like I think I think the best hands should be in Tony Khan's hands as far as the tape library. Now, now as far as if Tony Khan gets the video library, I mean, like, do you think that do you think that Tony Khan is going to stop at just possibly just showing those shows on a future streaming service of AEW, or do you think he'll do more than that if he gets the tapes?
Pretty much, or he's going to do a version of WECW. I mean, pretty much because they were so close to doing it 20 years. And I wouldn't be surprised if the show does. I mean, they were close. I mean, it's only like, doing all this stuff. Show's been off, 19 plus years, almost 20 years. I wouldn't be surprised if this is all going to go down. Um, I think that there will be a 20-year anniversary. I think AEW would do a Ring of Honor show, 20-year anniversary, and probably, I don't know if it'll be the last show, but if it is, I think that it would be have a lot of people, maybe have some debuts, maybe have people come back. I mean, maybe Joe can come back for a match, or just have him have that moment of Ring of Honor, or Jay Lethal or something like that, because it would probably have the beginning, like have it like close the book on it, which I think would be nice. A closed book to Ring of Honor of starting 2002 and it ends right there. It'd be great. But yeah, I don't ask. But speaking of bringing in for Ring of Honor, who do you think is gonna if this is it's pretty much the death rolls? Who do you think? And I'll ask people in the chat as well because I got some people up here and everything else. Who do you think should be going to Ring of Honor? I got my picks, but I want to hear yours, LV, and some people in the chat rooms. I want to hear yours in the comments section below. So yeah.
So are you pretty much asking the people in Ring of Honor going to AEW? Would that
Yeah,
what you're
or
asking?
AEW or Impact, heck, even
Okay.
WWE or something. No,
So
that's fine.
so as far as people going to AEW, I think who should go, obviously the Briscoe should go. I mean, like, I don't think that's an argument or a debate. The Briscoe
Yes.
should go.
Just for just the matches for Pride and Powerful, FTR, and the Young Bucks alone would just be heck. Maybe some Eddie Kingston and John Moxley, and those two. Just have them just do just tornado tag and have them go off. That's yeah.
Now, like, as far as some other people, I would say Jonathan Gresham should be a lock. I think
Yes.
Bandito should be a lock. I'm kind of iffy on guys like Flamita because they already have a lot of high flyers as it is, and I don't know where he would fit. Now, as far as guys like Dragon Lee, I think he should be a lock just so he can be aligned with Rush's no, not Rush, Andrade, because they have that LFI connection. And especially if AEW is going to do trios titles, you can bring in Rush as well. So that's your trio right there. And you can have Andrade do something in the meantime. And then as far as some other people, me personally, I would bring in Roxy. And the reason why I would bring in Roxy is because she's young. And plus two, you guys now have a secondary women's title. And again, for the record, I do not agree with it. But again, I'm just sitting back and seeing how they're going to do it. But it's like I said, if you're going to have a secondary title, in my opinion, you should have enough people for both divisions. And I think Roxy would be a great addition to AEW. I think Miranda Alizé should get a look for AEW for the same reasons. Who else? I think as far as people going to AEW, I think that may be it that come to my mind. Now, as far as people going to Impact, with Impact, man, look. So as far as Impact goes, I pretty much look at the roster these days as basically a retirement home. So like you can get Angelina Love in there, whatever, and have her become like a 20th world champion, and she could brag around saying, "I'm a 20th world champion. I beat Charlotte in her reigns." Who else?
Jay Lethal.
Oh. Yeah, which Hey Lethal, like Jay Lethal can go to Impact, or Jay Lethal can possibly go to WWE. May have him have a training job at the Performance Center. I wouldn't mind seeing that. As far as other guys I would like to see go to AEW, I would definitely love to see Shane Taylor Promotions. I think those guys definitely deserve to be in AEW. But
Yes,
at
there's
this,
gonna be a trios. There's a
yeah,
trios for that.
yeah, but the one thing I worry about those guys is that I don't think those guys had enough exposure like that. And yes, they have been in Ring of Honor, but it's not like, again, it's like he was saying earlier, not many people was watching it like that. So they couldn't really see how great those guys were. And 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 I think specifically, with Shane Taylor specifically, he really had to prove himself. He really had to prove himself as soon as Keith Lee started getting hot. Because when Shane Taylor and Keith Lee were starting to get their name up in the indie scene, they were a tag team. And all people kept talking about was Keith Lee, Keith Lee, Keith Lee. Nobody talked about Shane Taylor at all. And once Keith Lee went to WWE, me personally, I was looking at Shane Taylor as if he was done. But Ring of Honor kept hanging on to him, and he had to prove himself, and he has proven himself. So, but yeah, like those guys, I definitely think should go to AEW. Guys like Eli Isom and other guys, I mean, it's just gonna be tough.
Oh yeah, because there's so much stuff there. And I would agree. Same Time Productions. That would be you could instantly put them in. You get a trios title there. I mean, like I said, Rush and Dragon Lee, Bandito, who I would think Josh, Bandito, Josh, Jonathan Grisham. Those two right there could instantly put your TNT championship division, and heck, could win them. I honestly think you could have them win them in the first night. They really want to do something shocking, maybe after Full Gear or something like that. Look, I don't hate Sammy Guevara, but if Jonathan Grisham's going to be there, for Revolution, and having that, I mean, I wouldn't be mad. I wouldn't be mad if they actually won them on their first night or something. But yeah, I think there's a lot of stuff. I think Danhausen, get what his character is over and popular. I wouldn't be surprised he's going to be in AEW, probably the king of AEW Dark. A lot of people said that's what's probably going to be it. And the other people, it's just so many, and it just sucks because I think, like I said, Ring of Honor wasn't as hot, but it had like this, it was a home for a lot of these talents. And my fear is that they're going to probably be over, when you lose a wrestling company like this, most of the people might not, I'm happy there's an exposure to indies like GCW or, all these other places, but House of Glory, House of Glory Wrestling and all this type of stuff. But having Ring of Honor go down, it's going to be a serious blow. And it just seems that how are they not going to stay relevant, and B, how are they going to not be stepping on to other people's toes as well. There's a lot of people in other companies like WE, Impact, and AEW who are just up on the rise, and this stuff happens.
Right,
that's what it is.
Right, like and that kind of leads towards what I would like to see happen if it turns out if Ring of Honor does shut down after Final Battle. What I would like to see, and I said this on my Twitter, what I would love to see is for Tony Khan to able to get those tapes. And once he's able to get those tapes, I would like to see Tony Khan do the same thing that Brett Lauderdale did, the promoter for GCW, the same thing he did for Jersey Championship Wrestling. Now, for those of you guys who are not aware on how GCW forms, basically what happens is that Jersey Championship Wrestling was bought by Brett Lauderdale and his business partner. Now, with Jersey Championship Wrestling, there's a lot of history with that promotion, and it was Jersey Championship Wrestling where I found out about guys like Joey Janela and Chris Dickinson and Santana Ortiz, Jaka, a lot of those guys from the Northeast who couldn't really hack it in CZW like that. That's how I found out about those guys back in the day. Now, when Brett bought that promotion, he rebranded it to Game Changer Wrestling. But what Brett end up doing was, especially when he bought the company, what he did was he revamped it JCW as a subdivision. He did it as a subdivision. And what he would do is that he would just do one JCW show per month, and he would upload it on YouTube live for free. And he would do that. And so JCW was to people who needed work. And it was basically for people who wasn't on the GCW main roster. But eventually, if those guys can get over in Jersey Championship Wrestling, those guys can then move up to GCW. Now, with Tony Khan, I would love for him to do the same thing with Ring of Honor. Now, the big difference is if Tony Khan gets Ring of Honor, and if he was doing it the way I would like it to do it, do not sign no one to no contracts. Don't don't do it. Just do pay per appearances. That's it. And just do one Ring of Honor show per month. Just do one Ring of Honor show per month. Now, if you gotta do it on YouTube for free, or if you have to eventually do it on a streaming platform and kind of revamp the Honor Club thing again, that's fine. But that's what I would like to see. And then pretty much eventually you can make the new Ring of Honor into the NXT that people were missing, because now we got NXT 2.0, aka Florida Championship Wrestling. If you guys can make Ring of Honor into the NXT that people were missing, that's going to give you more money, and that's going to give these people more exposure. And plus, not only that, though, too, but if you're able to get these guys into Ring of Honor and you give these guys per pay appearances, that's going to give these guys more work. So you can give guys like the Eli Isoms and the Shane Taylor promotions who may not get that much work. And not only that, though, but that can be an opportunity to get people like the Red Velvets and the Brock Andersons, the Lee Johnsons, guys like that actually be into certain feuds, certain matches, do certain promos, all that just to keep progressing with their development. So that way they can translate that into AEW television. But that's pretty much just my idea, and that's what I would love to see. My personal opinion.
Yeah, I do. I see that because Ring of Honor has that type of they were honestly the top tier indie. They were the things that pretty much influenced the NXT of that new rebrand of NXT because that's what it was. I mean, that was WWE version of Ring of Honor NXT. It's not really a shocking about that. It having a high work rate and getting all these stars, getting like I said, Kyle O'Reilly, Adam Cole, Bobby Fish, Nakamura, doing all this other stuff, getting these people. And now I think, Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, all these people. And then you look at Ring of Honor and you see like they were the catalyst, the start of these things. And I think that's the one thing I believe that Ring of Honor really could have Ring of Honor never really capitalized on that, saying, they should have really, like I said, management. I think Jim Cornette talked about this like in one of his old shoot interviews. He talked about how they really did that. It was management and such, how bad management and everything else, the Go Fight Live stuff, all of it. And it just goes right back to it as piss poor management. And I think that's what Ring of Honor had is piss poor management. And I'm hopeful. Like I think your idea is pretty good, LV, as bringing in too what Ring of Honor is. Ring of Honor and all that type of stuff. That's just me. I think they should do something like that, but hopefully get a management crew because maybe we're all wrong here, and Ring of Honor will somehow survive. And that's the case. That would be great. I'll be awesome. That would be a great thing. That'd be great. But right now, Ring of Honor, they need better management, and that's the thing. I look back on the shows and everything else is that I always say, even though production quality was always not high up, but I love the energy and the crowds and everything else. But again, it ties back to how why Ring of Honor in this position is because of piss poor management. And yeah, I think look at this, they are going to be going on this other stuff. So who knows, man? I think, I guess, there are some good matches and good people they can put into. I do feel bad for some of the guys, like, for example, Brian Zane, YouTuber and such. Did a podcast with him and Rowdy C back like a couple of
Yeah,
years ago.
man. That's
I
fucked
thought
up.
he was like, man, he was doing good. He enjoyed it. And then this news happened. And he's like, man. And, you know, and all the other commentators, all of them. Everybody in production. I'm like, man, they probably found out the way we found out. Like, the Ring of Honor's on hiatus. Sorry, guys. See you later. And I'm like, man, they did some good stuff. I can't pronounce the dude's name, but I ain't Rick. Gosh, that one commentator of Ring of Honor. He did a really good job. Caprice Coleman, I think he did a good job as well. There was a lot of good stuff at Ring of Honor. Just I feel like, man, this is a company that could have done, might not take over the industry, but piss poor decisions and becoming irrelevant. Meanwhile, companies like New Japan Pro Wrestling, are growing. Companies like AEW are growing, and GCW is growing for what it is and such, and even WE is growing somewhat, but still, it's just like you look at Ring of Honor, you're like, man, what is this?
Right, man. Like it's just crazy. Now, like there was something interesting I read in the Observer about this stuff. There was a point where Joe Koff kind of gave the implication that he expects the office to stay in place, and that office included Delirious, and he's the head of creative. So that was kind of interesting that he would say that, but but at the same time, it's Joe Koff. So we can't take everything he says like it's gospel. So I don't so I'm not sure if Joe Koff was just talking hot air, because when he was saying that, that kind of gave me a little bit of hope. I'm like, well, if Delirious is staying in the office, I mean, unless they're gonna hire Delirious to do something else. Oh, damn, you know what? I just thought about it. So so there's this thing going around that Sinclair made an agreement with WoW. So I'm pretty much wondering if the office is staying in place, so that way Delirious may be booking WoW. Just thought of
Oh
that.
yes,
Oh
and
fuck.
that's gonna be, yeah. Oh, it's
Oh,
Aaron Rickman. Thanks, thank you, JC. And yes, also Taylor Nuts. They did have great chemistry. Him and Coleman, great chemistry with both of them. They did great stuff, and honestly, if I was doing something, I even though I like Excalibur and Taz commentating on Dark and whatever when they don't give a fuck, especially during the pandemic, they didn't care, and it was brilliant. But I wouldn't mind those two being on AEW Dark or maybe AEW Rampage, because those two are great. I truly believe those two are actually, you can put them in, and and just they could just go. I believe that. And also, oh gosh, the WoW stuff. Didn't they sign Tessa? And they
yeah,
had
that
that
bitch.
one. Oh yes, that nuclear T-shirt and such, and the ratio was amazing. I was like, yeah, that's a great T-shirt. And you're just doing all this stuff right there. That's just talk about starting on the wrong foot. just just walking and just like your first opening step, you step right into a bear trap. And even better, you're just like, let's leave the bear trap on and try to go into a jog while having the bear trap on, because that's just perfect. That's great. Well, don't worry, and I can't wait for like 2 months, like a year later, when WoW shuts down. And Tesla's gonna be out of a job again. Uh,
Man, like who knows? Because again, like the whole thing about Sinclair, like they got money. Like, and people was living off of those Ring of Honor contracts. So like I don't know if it's going to last a year. I mean, like I'm not sure, like I guess it depends on how well the WoW promotion performs. But man, like again, like it goes back to what we said earlier, pretty much Sinclair just looked at Ring of Honor as content for their distribution, nothing more, nothing less. So if it turns out if WoW is not expecting much to be put into their product by Sinclair and they just looking at it for content, I mean, shit. I mean, it's a good chance we may deal with Tessa for the next 10 years.
Joy. But you know what? A lot of people have been talking about this, and we go right back to, like I said, management. Is that you look at, I've talked, everyone else said this. I think we already talked about this, but I think it goes right here about what AEW and everything else. Uh, they people are saying, and I think a lot of people, you think it is, once the elite left Ring of Honor, people are saying that was the main reason why Ring of Honor they just had no direction. Which I mean they had some, but do you think that that was the main reason that this is why the elite, if the elite were signed and such, and they did the things, one AEW would probably not exist. And uh, do you think Ring of Honor would be in a much more healthier position if they actually did? Kept the elite and the Bullet Club and such. Because right there, a lot of people think it was you know because again, Ring of Honor lost many talents before and they kept chugging along. So what? Someone say what was the difference here?
So like so like with them not capitalize on it, I mean, like I think one thing people need to understand is that when the elite was at their peak in 2019, they was legit selling out shows. Like they was legit bringing in money to Ring of Honor, and they was pretty much at one of the healthiest they've been money wise. I mean, it even got to the point where people like the Young Bucks were living off of near, was it six figures? Near it was near six-figure contracts, so, and that's one of the reasons why guys like the Bucks and Cody didn't go to WWE as quickly as they did, because they saw that they was getting buzz and Ring of Honor wanted to keep them, and they was willing to give the Bucks and Cody money, and that's a good thing. But again, it's like they didn't capitalize on it. Now, if they did capitalize on it with the hype, with the sellouts that they were doing at these Ring of Honor shows, it probably would have been a good chance around this year. Possibly we could have saw Ring of Honor do a sellout in a WWE arena.
Or do stuff with the Grand Slam stuff? Maybe they would have done something
Yeah,
like Arthur Ashe.
that. Yeah. Yep. Yep. Like it could have been a good possibility that Ring of Honor could have went to Arthur Ashe. It could have been a good possibility that Ring of Honor could have went to these other buildings that AEW is going in, and they could have sold it out. Now, as far as them having, actual television, that probably wouldn't have happened still, because Sinclair is really more of like a syndication. But with the hype that they would have had, it could have been a good possibility that we could have saw Ring of Honor, pretty much selling out those WWE buildings, and it could have been a good possibility that Ring of Honor could have been competition for WWE as far as tickets being sold. Clearly, now, dang, like there was one last point I wanted to make if they would have capitalized on it. Oh yeah, so also too, it could have been a possibility if they would have capitalized on the elite stuff. It could have been a possibility that guys like Daniel Bryan could have been kind of flirting with Ring of Honor, possibly coming over there. It could have been possible that CM Punk could have came back to Ring of Honor. It could have been possible where guys like Randy Orton would have actually was flirting with the idea of going to Ring of Honor. So I mean, again, possibly, I don't know, but That's how I see it, but that's why a lot of people thought that the elite stuff was really the turning point and how they didn't capitalize on it like they should have, because they really should have. You know, like like especially with those tickets being sold, like the way the elite was a draw during 2019, boy, man, can't miss that. Can't miss it. You can't.
Oh yeah, it is. It's just missed opportunities. And then they went back to New Japan and they started AEW. And now we know where you see AEW with a consistent network with TNT now going to TBS and such. It's Warner Media loves them apparently, and you see that, and maybe you see they could have something like that, but Ring of Honor just I think missing the Elite and then that combined 1-2 punch of that New York show of in Madison Square Garden, where they, I mean, when you pretty much job out, you use Rush to job out uh Dalton Castle, who I am still shocked that he got over in Ring of Honor with this type of gimmick and everything. And
Me too.
yeah, I'm like,
Oh my god! Like I was shocked like hell. But plus, not only that too, but when Dalton Castle came in, like I remember I saw him in IWC, and I was not a fan of Dalton Castle at all in IWC, and he didn't do that peacock gimmick. And so when I heard he was coming to Ring of Honor, I'm like, oh, okay, whatever. And I saw you do that gimmick, and that shit just got over like a motherfucker. I'm like, what the fuck?
I was like,
Like,
what?
what the hell's going on here?
And they were cheering, and then the boys, I'm like, did I just change the channel? Did WWE just influenced and like get like their fans in there or impact? I'm like, what? Why do people the Ring of Honor fan base, which is so like that fan in that arena, that is basically the one place you do not go to for gimmicks like that. It's like the anti version of the gimmick, but yet somehow, some way, not only did it got him over, he became a world champion. I'm like, this dude, really. I'm just, and it got me back into it, but I'm like flabbergasted, and I'm just looking at the Ring of Honor fan. They do this unironically. Same with Dannyhausen and such. It's just like, you know, it's just weird like that. It's just weird how that stuff gets in. And you know what? I know he's probably getting up there, but I think Dalton Castle, I think he'll be like really good for someone like AEW or someone like there. Maybe a pair appearance or something like that. Because I think his gimmick and seeing how he is, I think he would do well. Probably WWE, which I honestly think he would. Personally, I think he would fit there well. But any place, I think he would. If he could get over Ring of Honor with that gimmick, I'm like, you know what? He can get over anywhere. You know what I mean? I mean, at this point, he can go anywhere he wants.
Right, right. Like I think the only question about Dalton Castle at this point is his back going to hold up, because he been having back problems for a long time now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like, and plus, like, I mean, with WWE, they got their schedule, and if I was Dalton Castle, I wouldn't even go there because of that schedule, because your back will get destroyed. Um, he may have the best success probably in Impact, I would say. If he goes to AEW, I'm pretty sure the fan base will welcome him with open arms, especially if he's a babyface. So, yeah,
Yeah, I
like,
yeah, Impact. Funny enough, he had a tryout match with Impact years ago. So, and I don't know why they didn't take him, but
man, like, they passed up on a whole lot of people years ago. I remember they passed up on Brian Cage when he was getting real hot in the indie scene. I know they passed up on Eva Lise, and I know people are going to talk about Eva Lise, but I'm not talking about in hindsight. I'm talking about when people wasn't talking about her like that. But they passed up on Eva Lise,
oh
man.
yeah,
Like,
CM Punk was there. They
they I remember they passed up on Nikki Storm for Rockstar Spud. I'm like, what the fuck? I
oh
was like,
exactly.
yo, I was like, yo, how do y'all pass up on Nikki Storm, aka Nikki Cross? Nikki Storm was one of the most charismatic women out there in the independent scene. Man, she was TV ready. she was TV ready, and now you see her as a goddamn superhero.
Yeah, she was great, and then and heck, remember her stuff Nikki Cross when she was going after I think the first last woman standing match at NXT with her and Asuka. You know
Man,
that stuff
man,
there, and I'm like, and I sit there like, yeah, the women's division could have used that. They could have used stuff like that in Impact, and
man,
yet, yeah.
man. Like as far as that Nikki Cross character should have been for dang what's her WWE name? Was
But
it damn
Nikki Cross,
I know
Nikki,
I know her indie name, Crazy Mary Dobson. She was in the Riot Squad. What was her WWE name? Damn, I forgot.
oh, let's see. There's Ruby Riot. You know, the Viking chick that followed
Yeah,
them.
her.
Yeah.
Yeah, her. But as far as Crazy Mary Dobson, who's the person I'm referring to that was in the Riot Squad, she that Nikki Cross character should have been for her when she
Oh
was
yeah.
Insanity. You know,
Yeah, that sort of
she
stuff.
was perfect for that. But it was like, bro,
Oh yeah,
when
Sarah Logan. Sarah Logan.
oh yeah,
By
yeah,
the way,
yeah.
the Riot Strong, and that I just remember the one thing I liked about that Riot Strong thing. They never won any matches. All they did was just cause they just threw stuff in catering. That was it. They threw stuff in catering. Riot Squad, everybody. Woo!
Yeah, man, that was it. But as far as when Nikki Storm came to WWE, and when I saw them having her become a gothic chick, and she don't even talk, I'm like, what are y'all doing? Do y'all not understand that this woman has more charisma than all of your women on the roster combined? It's- I'm like, why?
Because
And it's pretty
WE.
much and it's pretty much what I was talking about with Impact, and just to bring it right back to Ring of Honor, when they could have done a women's division, y'all could have got Nikki Storm.
Oh, that would have
Just
been
saying.
fun. Yeah, again, WE has these models and these boxes they want to put through. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And when I look at stuff like I said, when you look at Ruby Riot, and then when she was there, she didn't do much, and now she's you know, Ruby Soho. She's been doing well. I mean, she's been her matches have gotten better. She's actually gotten the more people liking her and everything. It just I'm like, it's just like the WE and the machines. And in fact, I guarantee you, if Ring of Honor did have a great women's division, she probably would have been in there. But
Oh yeah.
again, it's just when you miss opportunities, and that's what Ring of Honor's. Sadly, it's one of its main legacies is missed opportunities. Like I said, New York show, the Elite leaving, the mishandling of championship pushes, like Kyle O'Reilly having the title and then leaving less than a month later. Just all the stuff with the weird storyline with Jim Cornette and Kevin Steen, the lawyers stuff that just stopped all this stuff until eventually they had matches and everything. It just it's so backwards. The company, which a lot of people love, is backwards, and funny thing is, TNA and all this stuff is known for missed opportunities, stupid storylines and such. But yet, Ring of Honor, when you look closely, you're like, yeah, they made tons of mistakes, and total missed opportunities, and that's what sadly
Um
it is. But yeah,
so there's a question I want to ask you since you brought up Jim Cornette. So during that time when Jim Cornette was in Ring of Honor, he was getting a lot of pushback when he was around. Now, for me personally, I thought people were way too hard on Jim Cornette. I seriously thought that. Now there's a lot of people back then that was arguing with me about how Jim Cornette's ruining Ring of Honor and yada yada yada. But it was really more of just me trying to explain to people. I was like, look, listen, you guys need to understand that Ring of Honor is on television now. So there's certain things that they can't do. They have to tell stories and stuff like that. And when I say stories, I'm not saying it has to be like some WWF bullshit where somebody's sleeping with a wife and oh my god, you slept with my wife. I'm gonna challenge you to a match with divorce papers on a pole and da 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 da. It was like no, like they have to, they have to tell certain stories. They have to push certain people, like a Mike Bennett. And that's why I try to explain to people. But people's like, oh my God, like how come they're pushing people like Mike Bennett? I was like, bro, like they're on television now. They have to
Yeah.
kind of, so I really thought that they was being a little bit too hard on Jim Cornette. Now, there were some things I didn't agree with Jim Cornette, like with the El Generico stuff, when Cornette was saying that Generico got to take off the mask and, oh, like what's the point of us putting Generico on TV? It's like, well, I mean, for one thing, you can sell merchandise with the mask for kids. That's one thing, and he's clearly over with the crowd.
Yeah.
You don't have to make him world champion, but you can make him the Tommy Dreamer of Ring of Honor, the Johnny Gargano of NXT, where whether he wins or loses, the people are still going to be behind him. You could have done that, but but as far as my question goes, do you think Jim Cornette was getting a little bit too much backlash
Oh
that
yeah, he
wasn't deserved?
was. He was because again, Jim Cornette. Then and now, his personality, you either love it or hate it, and that's what it is. They saw him as a figurehead, but it's only the people behind. It is the management. That's the problem. Like I said, management, and Jim Cornette talked to us in his shooting interviews. He said he had the fault with management, and some of the stuff is wrong. I think the El Generico was. I think it was a little bit stupid, but no one's gonna bat 1,000. And honestly, I just think that people right now, and when you look at it, like I said, all of it wasn't the booking. They say, "Oh, he's a booker, so we have to blame him." No, you gotta look at what's the people above him. You gotta look at Sinclair. You had to look at the people behind that stuff. That's the issue. And when you do that, and when you look at that stuff, and that's why I never really got into the Jim Cornette bashing as much as I did back in those days, because first I wasn't really watching him going like that, and secondly, I'm like, you know, I think there's something more going on because people just didn't really know about the whole Ring of Honor, again Sinclair and everything else, and how they do, they're the ones doing all this stuff because that's what it goes back to, and like I said, Ring of Honor um, really never got. I think the problem with Ring of Honor is that it wanted to, the fans wanted to grow, but I don't think the company wanted to grow. I think the company liked being this plucky indie that released DVDs once a month or pay-per-views and hot shows with these, close out and their fan bases. And the fans wanted to say, hey, we love it, but we want to make it bigger and bigger. But I think the company felt uncomfortable with that. And I think when you look at the old stuff here, maybe they want to go back to the 2002s and 3s and 4s and 5s when it was just this hot crowd, this underground feeling. Because when they go up to that higher point, they realize that, oh crap, we can't really fight against that. We can't really, our style won't bring in an audience. I think they're wrong, but that's what they are. I think that's what they're desperately thinking, is that maybe we're not really that type of wrestling show that we want to grow. That's what I think it's deep down that is.
Right. Like I think if you look at GCW right now, I mean they're clearly the king of the independents right now. When pretty much each and every show I've watched, the crowd is always hot, and it kind of reminds me of that ECW / Ring of Honor crowd from the early 2000s, where they were just into just every single match, and you pretty much had like the best wrestlers out there that was on every GCW show. I mean, if you look at the past few, I mean, it was like a who's who of wrestlers on those shows. And I think that if it turns out if Ring of Honor does come back, they need to focus on that. I mean, like, especially if the idea is for Ring of Honor to just be strictly an independent promotion. I mean, they pretty much have the name and they can get those people. They can.
Oh yeah, and like I look upon it is that one. I honestly look at what Ring of Honor could have been. Again, that's that type of show of being that great hard work, great content. But I think again management really hurt it. And I'm like looking when I look at the wrestling landscape, see New Japan. I think after this, like the pandemic getting more managed, I think they're going to be more doing the United States excursions and such. And then after that, I think that they're going to be. I wouldn't be surprised when they're going to do more Ring of Honor shows that not a Ring of Honor, but more shows in the United States, New Japan, but also I think AEW, like I said, GCW, and like I said, I think our House of Glory Wrestling Masterpiece thing. I think people are sleeping on that. I think that's going to. I wouldn't be surprised if some of the Ring of Honor wrestlers go over there if it is the last time stuff there. So there is some other places that are building and doing their curving their stuff, and I think the Ring of Honor, as much as their production values were getting better, I think they were just stuck in that past mindset, and they just, I don't think they were ready to go and move on to that next step. And my hope is that Ring of Honor doesn't die out. I don't want them to die, but my hope is that they can, maybe this is a way for them to get out of Sinclair. Maybe this is their like Hail Mary pass of getting out of Sinclair and finding another owner, somebody else, so they can get out of that hellscape and buy and do stuff like that. Maybe buy them and be more independent, or maybe do some Forbidden Door stuff. Because I felt honestly that whole run with Kenny Omega, I'm surprised he didn't go after Ring of Honor or anything else. Because it just felt like it was a little bit. It's like this whole. I felt like, man, we talk about this Forbidden Door stuff and Impact Wrestling and stuff, and the Elite are talking about kicking all these belts and everything. I'm like, Ring of Honor doesn't exist anymore. I know. I mean, they are doing shows now. I feel like that should be their main stuff to go after. Ring of Honor taking that over. Go, you know what I'm saying, right? Because I mean, they were there in Ring of Honor. That was the way they cut their teeth. For majority of people, the Elite was the most profitable, and people remember all that stuff. And having Kenny Omega return and take the Ring of Honor title or something like that, I think that was missing a bit in that storyline. I honestly didn't like Kenny Omega being all over the place in that storyline, but I felt that, to me, it was a missing part of it, because ROH was their first really stopping grounds and most majority people there. And I felt like, it just felt like, man, they really missed the boat on that type of stuff. Because when they did it, I was like, what, Impact Wrestling? I'm like, really? Not Ring of Honor? I mean, I know they weren't doing shows, but I felt like that should have been their first main thing to me. That should have been, that should have been where Kenny should have went first, because that, the connection there. But it's so like they just, Ring of Honor, like I said, after All In and all this stuff, it just, Ring of Honor never really happened. It doesn't exist, only in passing.
It seemed like they was on the cusp of doing that too, like over the last month, because if you notice, AEW kept name dropping Ring of Honor. Obviously CM Punk gave Ring of Honor the big rub in his return. And then I think it was like a couple of weeks ago, I saw a Ring of Honor video on YouTube where they talked about, the Forbidden Door when the Briscoes went to GCW. And I was kind of saying to myself, oh, wait a minute, like, are they finally going to work with AEW and finally get their shine on national television? Because again, like with them working with Impact, it was weird, but at the same time, I was happy that promotions were working together. So I did like that part. But like if it was up to me, I would have rather AEW work with Ring of Honor. But obviously with Ring of Honor, like they're obviously with Ring of Honor, especially with their contracted wrestlers, they're very, very strict on that. And I understand why, but it's like I said, pretty much at the very beginning, when AEW had their first ever press conference, I sat here and said, is that, look, listen, I'm glad people are getting contracts and I'm glad people are getting money. But at the same time, if they want the business to thrive, all these companies need to work together. All of them need to work together. So if that means if one of your contracted wrestlers have to appear on another show on national television or on worldwide pay-per-view, pretty much at the very least, just have one of your guys battle a jobber in the opposite promotion, so that way they can get over. instead of not having to worry about jobbing unless you're willing to have one of your guys job, because that's one of the reasons why, PWG is able to get these Ring of Honor guys on their shows like that. But obviously, the problem with PWG now is that, these idiots don't even want to stream. They constantly want to be on DVDs. But now since Ring of Honor is going to release everybody in December, I mean, it shouldn't be a problem with PWG now. But we'll see.
Yeah, that's what it is. And I'm gonna wrap this up a bit, and this has been great conversation with you, man. And I always say this, and my last thoughts about this whole subject is that for all the stuff and everything else, TNA outlived another pro wrestling company, and I'm just I don't know how to feel about that. I don't know. How the hell did this company, TNA and Impact Wrestling, survive through every single goddamn thing that they has and somehow outlived Ring of Honor? I that blows my mind, man.
I have no idea how in the hell that these idiots at TNA Wrestling / Impact Wrestling is still alive. I mean, like I said, shit. Like I think it was like probably like 5-6 years ago, or no, it was probably 7 years ago. I was saying that this company is not gonna fucking last because these people blew it with Spike TV. They went to Destination America, where Ring of Honor was on the same exact channel as them. Then they went to Pop TV, and as soon as they went to Pop TV, I'm saying to myself, "Oh, they done. They are done." Like nobody wasn't talking about Impact, nothing. And God, man, these motherfuckers are still alive. Now, ain't nobody talking about them. Ain't nobody talking about no damn Impact Wrestling, but they still alive, and I don't know how the hell they did it. With all that stuff with Dixie and Billy Corgan in the mix, and oh
You
my
had
God.
those Nazis buying it, that stuff, which was just I still can't believe all that stuff happened. It's just all this other stuff from you know, I mean, they were, I mean, I'm still can't believe this stuff. I mean, I remember from them being from Spike TV to again to Destination America with Dixie Carter, basically sent a word in an email saying, "Oh, they're idiots" or whatever, which was just I mean. I don't know how you even respond to all that stuff because Dixie Carter just continuously showed that she's just terrible manager, whatever. And just then they went to Pop TV. Then they went to another small type of network. In fact, they went to networks that had nothing. These 100 channels, like legitimately. I remember they had their like these hunting channels where no one watches and stuff. The most boomeristic, like people who like sit around and just like hunt like every single animal and have all of them stacked up in their living room / den, and you're like, oh my gosh, they're like one or two animals away from start hunting human beings. That's the channels that Impact Wrestling was on. And even better, sometimes they just shot episodes, they just repeated episodes. And I'm like, and somehow that company still survives after
Mhm.
everything else there. And I'm not even making all that stuff up. I mean, I'm not making any of that up, man. Because it's I'm just like, what is this? I mean, just they hustled Billy Corgan out of his stuff, and then Billy Corgan went and founded the NWA, which I think at the end I think that was probably best for him. And then after that, um, Anthem Sports and Entertainment, they took over, and then after that, um, they just went in. I remember this in 2017. They rebranded themselves to Impact Wrestling. Then they merged with Jarrett's Global Force Wrestling, and then they were after that rebrand. They fucked up the whole copyright thing, so they had to go back to Impact Wrestling, and their belts, their championship belts. I remember this. Their championship belts had Impact. They had to have the slap Impact logo on, while they still had the GFW tie. I'm like, they still had the side plates of GFW. I'm like, this rinky dink company, this rinky dink company, um, they should not survive, but yet somehow by hook or by crook, they somehow survived. They got on Twitch, and then they got kicked off Twitch because RVD had a threesome, and they got back on Twitch. They went on, like I said, they went on let's see what type of stuff there. They went on Pursuit Television. Um, that didn't work. Then it went to Access Television, and there you go. And somehow they're still alive.
Yeah, man, it's quite. Yeah, man, it's quite the story. It's quite the story. I mean, if it turns out, if Impact does die, and plus, I want to make it clear, I, I pretty much don't want a wrestling promotion to go away because every promotion that goes away, it hurts the business. But if they ever do, if they ever do, I'm pretty sure you and me will have a long ass conversation about
Oh,
Impact.
there's no way we could do it on one stream because
No, no.
it would be like a whole lexicon of things, and I don't think people. I think at that point that would be like a documentary, like the documentary like The Last Dance. It would have to be that type of quality, and just doing every single stupid stuff on that Impact and TNA and such is like at that point I wouldn't know what to. I mean, what else is there? You mean you had the hard 10 match, which you have hardcore matches like double points if you hit people. You got the reverse ladder matches. You got the last right matches. You have, Jeff Jarrett and his BS multiple times. And I like that G Nation just said this. The world will end and TNA and Impact Wrestling will still be here. Yeah, I honestly think the world will turn into the planet will turn into dust and nothing else living except Access TV and Impact Wrestling will still be on. I am at this point, they're gonna outlast WWE events. Oh no. No. This Dark Side that's a season. That's a season of Dark Side of the Ring.
Yeah, that's the season. Like you can't do that. No, you can't do that. No 2 episodes. That gotta take up the whole season. Gotta be 14 episodes. Gotta cover each episode for each year.
And with midgets and trash cans and oh gosh, oh gosh, that company, and it's still live. I mean, what type of weird magic demon thing Impact is? I don't know what it is. It just, but they're still alive, and somehow Ring of Honor is not. And there's some type of cruel joke there, but I don't think I'm cool enough or interesting enough to say it. But anyway, I think we're gonna end it right there, man. Thank you so much, LV, for joining me.
Oh, no doubt, man.
All right, man, and thanks very much for watching. This is Duke CT here. Peace and love. I'll see y'all when I see y'all later. And